Hello, everybody. This is Aaron, and I'm back here the next day doing some more research on Castello. So we'll dive right in. I'm going to share this to some people first. It's beautiful weather outside. Today's Friday, so you know what that means. It means that today we complete creation. Okay. Let's do this. I'm going to dive right in. Okay. Okay. We left off here with this document. And we had found the preface translated. Where were we? Right here. The person who wrote these liner notes said, "Oh, this preface means how do you get to St. Mark's? You practice." But I think that's a modern. I mean, obviously that's a takeaway, but I'm looking for how does this preface inform us about how to handle Castello's music, how to approach it. We know, practice the music. We know it should be easy for you. We know that it should be easy for you, even though the style is difficult, and you should derive pleasure from the music. And so all those have different connotations in music and have different techniques and established traditions that are connected to them. And so one of my goals is to look for how is it that diminutions are connected with having pleasure in making music. So I don't know where to look for that. But here we are. So I'm going to keep reading. Stile moderno refers not just to the virtuoso wind writing on almost every page, but also the mercurial. Even what is mercurial? I remember I searched that word up, but I forgot. Subject to sudden or unpredictable changes in mood. Mercurial, even schizophrenic alterations of tempo and mood. The very first sonata, which okay, I read this. Yeah, it changes so quickly. Adagio. Okay, right here. Oh no, the jazz one is here. We read that. So I think this is where we need to continue. Page 6. So you're all joining me. This paper is due on the 3rd of June. And I haven't gotten really an outline yet. If you look at the structure of it, my proposal still is in fluctuation, which is not great, but it's what we're dealing with. My proposal is moving around. Then my sources are expanding. Right now, we're in this stage of sort of basically I'm gonna every time I come on here, I'm gonna restate my proposal because maybe it'll change. Right now, my proposal is looking at Castello's Sonata Secunda, how to deal with it, more specifically, how to deal with the practice of diminutions in a work that is in stile moderno, in a work that has written out elaborations by the composer himself. And I want to collect evidence just so that it's more narrow to argue that we should add more notes in this music. Not only we could, and they would, but we should. And what sources I would need to bring is something from the composer's time that directly speaks about the art of creating diminutions, learning diminutions, and who used them. and the performer's role. So we have the learner who needs to learn how to play their instrument. They use diminutions. We have the performer, and performers were using diminutions previously. Now I wonder, it probably didn't just disappear. They probably just added them in different places. Um, I just don't have enough experience with the practice of diminutions to say for certain. I can say for myself, I have seen enough. I don't know where I've seen it, but uh, that the opportunities are still there to add diminutions. I think that's maybe the first question. Are the opportunities still in this piece to add diminutions, knowing the treatises? And they are, like, in the examples we have of 40 different ways to diminute a cadence, yada, yada. It's so varied and they get so dense that there's obviously room. Um, and then the idea of rehearsing, and that's a point that Castello brought up in his preface, that rehearsing, and Will told us that, oh, maybe rehearsing is when you add more notes. So here we are. Like them, like the jazz, Castello's art is so imbued with the ideals of breaking rules and pushing boundaries that it will always be challenging and new. Given that Castello was such an innovative and successive composer in his own time, why isn't he better known? Oh, we read this. Yeah. I wouldn't seriously suggest that these sonatas were composed by Monteverdi, but his influence. Another ad. It says upload a document. Chat. If I was to upload a document, which one would I upload? Not sure if I have anything that worth uploading. The Verdonk. I wouldn't seriously suggest that these sonatas were composed by Monteverdi, but his influence looms large. Almost every sonata in Book 1 has a passage that could have drifted out of a Monteverdi madrigal. And in Book 2, there are sections very clearly still in stil concitio, swiftly repeated chords, a la minimalism. What? Minimalism. What does minimalism have to do with this? Isn't that a 20th century movement? Oh, it doesn't let me copy. Unmistakably patterned on Monteverdi's, like yum ba pa 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 pa, il combattimento. I'm gonna wait 9 seconds. I wonder. Oh, the screen is black. Wonder if everything's good. Oh, we're good. Okay. So I'm going to be doing this research until Boaz comes around. Let me check how long I have until then. Calling brother. Okay. What is the source? I want to know this. Il combattimento. It is a distraction from my thing, but what if I press explain? Will it? Okay, it looks like I'm going to type it in myself. What is il? Okay, so it's something from 1624. And it seems likely to me that this affection and respect was reciprocated by Monteverdi in a letter of 10th of February, 1623, to the Gazanga court in Mantua, Monteverdi, who is often brutal about his colleagues, has something unusually positive to say about the wind playing at St. Mark's, although annoyingly he doesn't mention Castello by name. Answering a letter about recruiting musicians to work in Montreux, he writes, "As for the sopranos, believe me, your lordship, there is nobody suitable, nor is there anyone who can play continuo on the theorbo moderately well. Therefore, it would not be worth the expense of getting ordinary players from here. But there are certainly good wind instrumentalists, and if your lordship will let me know about these, I would hope to send you someone reasonably good. Regarding the need for rank and file theorbo players, I believe His Highness would find satisfactory ones at Verona, and much less expensive." Wow. Which brings us to question of where and how these sonatas were used. In Venice, they would have been played in a church as well as private musical gatherings, called academies. For much of Italy, there were strict regulations limiting the sort of music suitable for church, the Bible not mentioning cornetti or theorbos. So they were trying to historically accurate biblical music. But pleasure-loving Venice went its own way, and a description of Venetian church services by Castello's contemporary Milanuzzi tells us that ensemble sonatas were often enjoyed at the beginning and end of service, as well as after communion, and reading the epistle. Whoa, wait. Castello's contemporary Milanuzzi tells us that ensemble sonatas were often enjoyed at the beginning and end of services. Milanuzzi, Castello's contemporary I want to know where I can find this. Wow, this is huge. So I have a question in here. Actually, this is a little hard to put it in this huge chart. So I'm going to put it just separate things and then it'll organize it later. Where might it have been performed? This might relate to diminutions. Where in Venice there would have been played in church as well as music gatherings. In Venice, they would have been played in church as well as musical gatherings. According to Milanuzzi. According to Milanuzzi, a musician, I assume. Maybe Wikipedia. Carlo Milanuzzi was Italian composer and Augustinian friar of the early Baroque era. What's a friar? Learning so much. Oh, no, not that. Huh. Friar. A male member of a certain religious order in the Christian church who take religious vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Like a monk. Best known for publishing a series of popular collections featuring arias, madrigals, and canzonettas. So what did he say? He said that this music would have been performed in church. Wait, oh, he just said he saw instrumental music in church at the beginning and end and during offertory. He enjoyed the ensemble sonatas were often enjoyed at the beginning and end of the service as well as after communion in the reading of the epistle. Our works would fit perfectly in this context. If we imagine a mass lasting around 2 hours, during which one might hear three or at most four of these sonatas at approximately dramatic points, when we get a rough guide as to how to listen to them now. Each sonata, though brief in itself, is so filled to bursting with extreme contrasts, except for the sublime and slow Sonata Secunda, which only has 2 short allegros and 7 of 6 bars each. That listening or playing too many in a row can be an exhausting experience. So, as with the richest of food and drink, it is safest to consume in moderation. But whether listened to carefully in controlled portions or gluttonously devoured in a single binge, Castello's music is guaranteed to delight and amaze. Enjoy. Oh, so this isn't even written by the person who we're actually getting the research from. Wait, I need Richard Egar. Oh, I think this is the part. Nope, this isn't even it. Whoa. So people are really oh, we're gonna be meeting this guy this summer. That's so exciting. Has the instruments that they're playing. They're like taking it seriously, this historical performance thing. A equals 466. And then more. Wow. Okay. So where is there someone who put this all together? Because who is this person that I was given? Selfridge Field. Who is that? Stanford. Evil and early medieval and early myth. From Gabriel, instrumental music from Gabriele to Vivaldi. Wow, prolific researcher. At the intellectual exchange. Um, but exists under an anagram of his actual name. Has never been proven. Wow, he's so mysterious. So what I was reading was not this. This is actually the preface of the score. What page is this on? Page 53. For diminution. Oh. 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 Oh, he's saying the end. Dun 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 dun. Yeah, da 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 da. Wow. Wait, I need to understand the context of this. Diminution is a form of embellishment in which long note is divided into a series of shorter, usually melodic values. There was a rich tradition of diminution in performance dating back to the Renaissance, with instrumentalists such as Ganassi, de la Casa, and Benasco writing treatises detailing the practice. These diminutions were often improvised, but were also sometimes used as a compositional technique to create more virtuosic parts. Following is an example of sackbut solo with a suggested diminution. Treatises on diminution listed many different varieties and examples of how to use this device. It is likely that performers of the time memorized many different diminution figures and used them appropriately in pieces to develop this skill of improvisation. It's page 60, page 41. I want to go back to page 62, page 42. Oh, wait, was this page 41? This is page 41. There. We had an incredible saxophone player. Whoa. They feature the instrument as a solo voice and are of some of the most difficult written for the instrument. Wow. The study and performance of music of Derek Castello and other composers provides greater understanding of the origins of the solo tradition of our instrument. It should be part of every trombonist curriculum. This music is also historically significant for the development of the sonata instrumental music. Musicians not acquainted with this music are missing a crucial link to historical performance practice. Principles such as affect, flexible tempo, I knew about that, vocal approach to articulation are important for understanding, interpreting not only the music of early 17th century, but also all subsequent music. It is easy for the modern performer to lose sight of what is important in music without an understanding of these early traditions. Was that a whole chapter? Appendix A. 10 sonatas which call for the sackbut. words have bookmakers. So this was a dissertation. Let's see this. Let me go to number 40 and then go the page before. How did we do this one? No, we didn't. She says it with so much certainty. Fantini, starting with a soft summon until halfway in. Whoa, is that true? Fantini. Treatise. Trumpet method. I would have never known about this. Method book. Lecture recital. Huh. Okay, what am I looking for? Oh, God. What am I looking for? Okay, paper, getting paper done. Let's just go through every source and see what it has. Going through here. Where's the and? Oh, here. Okay, patience. If we were. Wrong. Sorry, everybody. I have a message to answer. Oh, I was writing what I learned from this. Okay. Whew. This is opening so many rabbit holes. Director's note. Had Dario Castello left us a large-scale composition in Orfeo or Vespers, his genius would absolutely be just as recognized as that of his colleague Claudio Monteverdi. The fact that we only have 2 books of instrumental music containing just 30 sonatas is a pity, both for those of us who know them to be incredible pieces, and for the public at large who seem to need something more Hollywood in scale to pique their curiosity. However, for the last 34 years, I've been playing these amazing works, whoa, trying at every turn to bring them to the wider public. The chance to record them with my fabulous partners from the AAM is really a dream come true. I cut my Baroque teeth with these sonatas, exploring them with Andrew Manns, Robert Ehrlich, Mark Levy, as part of the Cambridge Music, formed whilst we were all at Cambridge University. We learned quickly that this music was utterly boundless in its virtuosity, imagination, and color, and would take anything we could throw at it in performance. Castello's work still remains some of my favorite music to play, so I was determined eventually to find an opportunity to record all these sonatas. Finally, that has come to pass. Also, thankfully, we had available the best musicians who were concerned to use the most historically accurate tools for the job. We used a high Venetian pitch 466, which has great implications for all the instruments involved, both technically and sonically. We opted for a pure quarter comma mean tone tuning system, a system of pitches commonly used in Castello's time. This adds incredible spice and shocking color to Castello's often pungent melodic and harmonic turns. Castello's specifications on instrumentation for each of these sonatas were taken seriously. No recorders here, just violins, cornetto, dulcian, trombone, and violetta. A curious, edgy toned, small cello gamma hybrid, tuned a fifth higher than the normal cello, as violetta. The continuo was simply keyboard, organ or harpsichord in theorbo. We were lucky to find an acoustic that was perfect, spacious yet clear, allowing us to luxuriate in the sounds that came forth. Whilst adhering to Castello's rather precise notation, we felt free to add ornamentation, where's diminution, and let our virtuosic imaginations run riot. May the listener note that the more outrageous noodling you hear, particularly that of the Dulcian and later sonatas, is notated by Castello. The written out ornamentation was hugely time consuming for the printers when you consider that each of the demi-semi-quavers meant the placing of a separate printing block. This project, Book 2, which will follow, is the happy culmination of a dream of 34 years in Cambridge. Massive thanks to my colleagues and friends at AAM, both extraordinary players, and those many people behind the scenes for making this possible. Seatbelts on and enjoy the ride. Venice. What are we learning? What did I learn? Oh, the brain. I want you to learn. Let me just ask these questions. And then I'll answer them, and then we'll see. Anything about cadences? No, not yet. Anything about the preface? Does it interpret Castello's advice to play the sonatas more than once? Other than practice, no. Does she say what modern style means? But I think in my paper, I'm not going to be like, okay, my question is, how do I cite a source in a paper? Will the best way be to explain it the way the paper explains it and says, this is not my own idea, but like, this is how they explain it, and then explain the whole thing? Okay. Never stop searching. Venice in the time of Dario Castello. This is really amazing. Venice in the time of Dario Castello. In relating Dario Castello to the city in which he lived and worked, two main questions arise. How can his identity be so mysterious, and how might the Venetian context have shaped his musical activity? At the start of Dario Castello's life, Venice was one of Europe's largest cities. Its population of 150,000 surpassed only by Paris and Naples. By the time of his death in the late mid-17th century, it had overtaken size by London and Amsterdam, but remained a thriving metropolis. Venice's strategic location at the corner of the Adriatic. Where's the Adriatic? Adriatic Sea is the northernmost arm of the Mediterranean. Let's see some images. Whoa. So is this the Mediterranean? Or you know where the Adriatic Sea is?
It's right next to Greece.
Right next to Urbino.
Right next to Greece.
Okay, look, these people know what they're doing. I'm out here trying to study. He used the coffee machine maker.
I used the coffee machine.
Oh, and is it better than Ella?
Yeah. You're using Mary Stone's practice room and given in memory of Mary Frances Stone in 1907 by Mary Ellis Purcell Lester in 1908.
Yeah, oh, Buzz. His music was played in the church. You have it? Mm-hmm. A guy, his name was...
Yeah, I know it.
It's like Marshmallow. Milan... 170 grams of sugar. Is that what it said?
No, it's like 20 max.
Milanzui. Milanuzzi. Ensemble music was enjoyed at the beginning and after communion and after the reading of the epistles. Castello, church music. Well, when you talk about reaching the audience,
Oh, 5 minutes. Wow, that's crazy. 5 minutes is actually crazy.
Okay.
Somebody doesn't like the Star of David.
Where did you say that?
Yeah, it's David.
David Star. Are we ready to do some forest? Okay. I hope you guys like the stream. That was 40 minutes of research. The only thing I found is that Castello's music was played in
the church.
But what does that mean for diminutions? And he worked with Monteverdi. What does that mean for diminutions? He had the best.
Did it say best?
He had the best wind players. What does that mean for diminutions?
But like, how do you know he had the best wind player?
The perfect musician.
My question is, diminutions were a practice before Castello came around with stile moderno and it was stile concito, the old style. And so when he writes this new style that seems to be written out elaborations diminutions.
Still Antico?
What is he expecting of the performer? Is he still expecting elaboration? Or is he expecting them to just play the part? Or is he expecting elaboration to a degree that wasn't even used previously? Because now this is the beginning of 1600. The main treatises from before have already been established. And that's what I think.
Oh.
What sources would I need in order to argue and know for sure that Castello's music was profusely
Diminuted.
diminuted. Okay, that's my question for Sunday. Okay,
Yeah, you can't do anything tomorrow.
due in 4 days. Peace.
My incomplete is due August 1st.